I think I have a certain level of Rizz that already exists. And it definitely, I don't know if it's because I'm gay, but it definitely has happened. I think I get a lot of straight girls that are like, hey, like, I'm curious. And I'm like, hey, I'm not single.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Music.gay. My guest today is the one and only Sophie Steele, aka Big Soph. Big Soph is a multifaceted musician and songwriter, but that's not exactly why I wanted to talk with her today. In fact, today's episode might as well be called Music.business.gay because that's what we're getting into. Big Soph is an online marketing and media dynamo for wayward musicians. She's the founder of Kopius Media, a full-service marketing platform that's tailor-made for musical minds. She's a dynamo entrepreneur who uses real data and innovative approaches to reach hundreds of millions of digital natives and netizens, make lots of money, and even secure music placements on major networks like BET, Much Music, VH1, CMT, and collaborate with brands like Journeys and ASOS and many more. Big Soph made the jump from speaking about keys and notes to keynote speeches and got off the stage as a musician only to get back on as a creative educator. She works with marketing professionals, consultants, finance folks, and anyone else who aims to expand the ever-growing field of technology and marketing, particularly pertaining to music. She's also an advocate for women's rights, IP protection, and ownership equality. She's a big gay lady Batman, but instead of Gothamites, she's looking out for musicians around the world, and instead of jokers, she's fighting against lawyers and sharks in the music industry. Actually, I think Jokers still works there. So if you want to find out more about Big Soph, you can go on Instagram at I am Big Soph, S-O-P-H, or you can visit her website. Same thing, iambigsoph.com. She's currently got a program growing online called Grow with Soph, which is a wonderful way to wade into the wild world of musical marketing and to learn about everything from sync licensing to playlisting, monetization to ad campaigns, radio play to sample clearance, and a whole lot more. Honestly, though, the best way to get in touch is just to message her on Instagram or to poke through her offerings and see what might speak to you. I'm aware this is a departure from the typical music-centric episode, and we're going to be talking a lot about the business behind the curtain. And so I'm very excited to be talking to the one and only headband having artist advocate who loves to tell it like it is. Ladies, gentlefolks, pups, and subs, welcome the one and only Big Soph.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Yeah. I want to jump in because this is a little different. Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Franki Jupiter. Good to see you. We're doing music business stuff today. Let's say, and it's not that much of a stretch for a lot of us, I'm a struggling musician. You and I end up on a train together and I clock you as a music business guru and I say to you, hey, I get off in like 2 stops. Tell me what you do.
I would say that I help aspiring musicians and other music industry workers carve out their monetization and marketing strategies to help them succeed. Nice.
Yeah. That's huge. I mean, I think that that's a part that so many musicians struggle with, right? We make this product that takes sometimes years and years and years to coalesce into what it is. Yeah. And then we just kind of like flop it out there and go, hey, does anybody love me? So you're one of the people who can help us sort of find our way in what? In getting in front of more people, in connecting to money? Like, what does that look like really?
It really depends on the artist that I'm talking to, right? Mm-hmm. So like some artists, I need to connect them with a booking agent. While other artists, I need to, dive in, see what their operations looks like and set up a system for them. And then for other artists, it's, assessing what they have going on and pointing out their own pitfalls to them, and showing them how to kind of mitigate those pitfalls and work towards whatever their goals are. Because I do think that success in the music industry is subjective to the person.
Yeah, totally.
So,
I think that's a great point, actually.
Yeah.
I think for some people, it's like, even some of these massive stars, they still maybe don't feel like they've made it, right? Like,
right.
oh, I'll only be successful once I've got the Grammy, or I'll only be successful once I'm like singing on the soundtrack for the next Bond film or whatever it might be. Like,
Right.
but for some people, it might straight up be like, I'll feel successful if I play 5 shows a year.
Yeah.
Right. Like the qualitative aspect, I think, is the idea of the success is like, okay, this feels a certain way. I feel good about what I'm doing, and somehow it's sustainable. But quantitatively, that could be like a trillion different things. Like with the people you work with most, do you find that there's an average space that you're comfortable with? Are you working with massive artists? Are you working with sort of indie DIYers who are wanting to hit more like, hey, I want to play 100 shows a year type of thing? Or what's your typical client looking like these days?
My sweet spot client would be someone that already makes content and, you know, puts forth the effort in making content. They have an audience, at least some motion going on, right? Because if there is no audience yet, then the product, meaning the music, doesn't have a proof of concept. So they have they have an audience, they have content, and they have engaging fans already.
Nice. And engaging, I assume you mean people who are like listeners on
Correct.
all of the streaming, and then also probably people chatting back and forth on the social media.
Right. So like one of my clients, we built her Discord, and, you know, I knew from just my marketing expertise that she has an engaging fan base. So I said, hey, let's launch you a Discord. And now they're in there talking by themselves. She's not even in there. And she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, you have a community of people because you stand for something. And now there's a hub where they can create content, commentate on her stuff, and just network amongst each other.
That's really interesting. That's something that I don't know that I've ever thought of, really, is the idea that, like, you know, almost serving as a sort of like hub, right? You're this character, for better or worse. Like, musicians play this certain role, and not only is it like directly incumbent upon us to create things for people to talk about or enjoy or to put our mission out there, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, by having people who like our music find each other in that same space, like, there is something that comes that's transcendent, where, like, the nice thing is you're not having to put in work constantly, and it's still creating that sense of community and family around your work, your music, your art.
Yeah.
Cool. Why, for you, why music business as a musician? I don't want to say former, because I think any musician is always a musician.
Yeah.
But as someone who maybe focused more on music in the past and is focusing more on the business of it now, why that switch?
I didn't see anyone who truly had artist interests, best interests at heart doing it. So while I was making music, there was people, service providers, that would sell us stuff, and, you know, there was no money coming in for the artist. So being an artist, working with artists, going to sessions, staying up till 4 a.m., going through different snares with the producer and stuff like that,
and by snares, you're literally talking snare drums, not like traps and
right,
the foils.
Snare drums, like different midis.
I need more snare in my headphones. Yeah. Right,
like these service providers, some of them, right, they've never been an artist. So I think there's a huge emotional aspect and vulnerability that comes with being an artist. And I think that I have a good understanding. So it's almost like a duty I felt that I had. I've always been very purpose driven, and it was almost like, well, if these types of people are doing it and this is their results, I want to be an option for artists that does it differently.
Yeah. And maybe the results end up kind of similar, but like the experience can be much more intimate or personal, or just kind of coming from a place of understanding. Like, I know what you're going through here.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that. Are there some aspects of it where you're like, hey, this is not easy? I mean, of course there are, right? Like, it's not easy to be a musician in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But the business side, do you find that it's any easier, or is it harder? Or
I would say it's
deep side.
Right. It's I don't know that it's easier or harder. I think it's a
differently hard.
It's different. It's like if you have two different meals to choose from and they're both really spicy, but like which one do you choose? They're both going to burn your throat or whatever. I would say they have different hurdles. Like I think as a musician, your hurdles are mostly internal, like the way that we talk to ourselves, like are we good enough? You know, do we like this record? Is this record good enough to release? And then on the service provider business side, it's more external, where it's, hey, we need these two people to collaborate in a timely manner and communicate so we can finish the project. Oh, the project's getting pushed back. So I would say they're both equally moderately difficult, but it's, you got to choose your hard, you know? What do you want to deal with?
Yeah. What do you want to fuck with? What do you want to hate today?
Exactly.
Speaking of, I mean, like, what is it that drew you to music in the first place? Music before the business, just music in general.
I never felt like I chose it. I felt like it was in me and was trying to crawl out. So I would say from the age of like 9, I would start making songs in the shower, just making songs. And then as I got older, like I was in choir at school and stuff, but then I would start freestyle rapping, like jokes with my cousin and like roasting her with raps. And then, then
one-sided rap battles, basically.
Yeah, basically. And she wouldn't rap back, so I don't know. It was probably really toxic at the time, but it was very fun.
You're just tearing apart your was it your cousin?
Yeah, my little cousin.
You're just tearing apart your cousin, but like with rhyme.
Right. Yeah. So that's how it started, and then I started recording myself at 15 and bring people into my room, my closet to record, and it just kept going from there. The
irony, right? The irony of us queer folks bringing people into our closets.
Right.
Okay, we're all coming out now. What is it that like you found that, was there a switch that flipped where you're like, hey, I'm going to go to the business side of this much more? Like, did you stop performing? I don't know. Are you still performing at all? Are you still writing?
I still write. I still record. I don't currently perform. And also my sound kind of shifted because I started as more hip hop. As my life changed, my sound now, like I'm not making angry struggle music. I'm making like more fun stuff. So like indie rock stuff. I wrote some country records. But in terms of me, I don't know that I plan to release music. I was actually talking to a colleague earlier and talking about maybe just executive producing some things I've written, getting artists to sing them.
Cool.
But there was no switch. I mean, honestly, I was performing, and this was probably like 2018, 2019, maybe 2017. I don't really know. I was doing shows, and then we got a distro deal. No one got paid out. It was that moment that I decided, hey, I'm going to learn more. Yeah. And then as I learned more, I got more referrals to do services. And basically it was the demand for my services that ultimately made me switch, I guess, because that's where my time kept going. That's where my money came from.
Exactly.
So that's where my attention went.
And I think that's such a, like, having your sort of finger on the pulse of that is so important for anyone in any profession, but like specifically in creative professions, there are those moments where like I had a moment like that in, I don't know, 2012-ish, somewhere thereabouts, where I was playing in a band. The band was struggling. The band was like on the verge of sort of maybe breaking up. And we started to like infuse a lot more content creation into it, do a lot more to like make better flyers, to get on the radio more, to do all these things that I realized like, oh, this is a different kind of work. It's related to this music stuff and doing videography and photography and all that was related. But then I started finding also like, oh, other people want me to do this. Other people want to pay me to do this. And like, I shifted over as well. Band broke up, shifted over and said, okay, it was nice to have like a sense of skills learned on the job of music that were applicable in other areas of life. So having your awareness to be like, oh, this is what's working. This is what's paying me. I can enjoy this. It's related to the things that I love. And I can sustain this. I think that
Mhm.
sustainability is huge.
Yeah, dude. Same. Like I said, that's kind of just how it happened. It was
Mm-hmm.
the demand. It wasn't a conscious choice. And then as time passed, that's when I realized, oh, I'm not making music. And I realized that making music was not just something that I enjoyed doing as a pastime, but really something that helped me process my
Yep.
emotions. And if I don't do it, I have a tendency to turn into a raging bitch.
Yep.
So I do try to, get in Pro Tools once a week at the very
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. That's such, I mean, like if there was a through line, if there was one golden thread of this entire podcast, everyone I've talked to,
Hmm.
it's kind of that right there.
Hmm.
It's like, didn't have a choice. Still
Right.
don't have a choice. Kind of sometimes all the time wish I had a choice. Don't have a choice.
Right.
So like just honoring that and recognizing like, yeah, it's beautiful that there's so many people who want to create music and some people do it really, really well, but not everyone is absolutely compelled to do it. And
Right.
I think those are the people who hopefully eventually find that sustainability.
Yeah.
But at the very least will be lifelong musicians.
Yeah.
What about the business side of it? What are the aspects of the business that you are most kind of tickled by, or the things that you love most about kind of like connecting with other artists?
I like seeing the transformation in their mindset from working with them. Many of them have went from like, I don't know what to do at all, and I'm coming from a place of fear to, oh, this is the landscape I'm entering, and I can tell what's for me and what's not.
Mm.
That's one thing I really like. And then because technology is rapidly advancing, I'm just I love being an early adopter of things, so I
Mm.
really enjoy like looking at stuff, testing it out, seeing if it works, and then if it does work, bring it to my audience in a timely manner where they can still benefit.
Yeah, nice. I think that's really huge. And like just again, it's kind of a matter of keeping your finger on the pulse, right?
Mhm.
You're staying connected with the reality of what's going on in the landscape. And
Mhm.
by doing that, and I think that uh, maybe stepping back for a second, like there's so much gatekeeping
Yeah.
in the business. And that's something that like when I first saw you on Instagram and you're like, hey, here's 5 things you can do today that are going to help you massively. And I was like, okay, I haven't heard of any of these.
Mm.
Like, what are these things? How do I do this? And you had it spelled out, the captions. I was like, why is no one else doing this? Like,
Right.
why are so many people so hell bent on making it so difficult, right? And it's for a lot of things. And it's especially for artists. I think there's so much gatekeeping that happens in the industry that makes it really difficult for people to step into that place of being like, okay, this is a sustainable thing. And here's the maybe not easy, but like the relatively straightforward and simple things that I need to do every day
Right.
to ensure sustainability. It feels for so many people like, okay, I want to do this. Let me roll the dice and then
Mhm.
spend a bunch of money to have someone else help me do a thing that should
Right.
be something that I can do.
Right.
Do you find that like, is that kind of part of the reason why it's been important for you as an artist to step into that role, is to sort of be like, hey, let's actually knock down some of these gates?
Yeah, I mean, I came I guess what I want to say is like I'm a little bit of an anomaly, at least from my vantage point, because I
Mm.
was an artist. I didn't come through the college route. I didn't come through the friend route. My family doesn't have anything in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I really came into this as an artist wanting to be the person I needed. And,
Mm-hmm.
I've spent $30,000 on things that were probably $10,000 to fulfill. Um,
Yeah.
and I've seen other service providers take crazy markups.
Yeah.
And although like ethics is not the spearhead of the music
Yeah.
industry, and I do think there is a place that can be carved out where it is a safe space for people. And I will say, in terms of gatekeeping, I'm sure there are people who really dislike what I'm doing. Um,
Yeah, sure.
but
It's disruptive.
yeah, but at the same time, the way that I see the market going in the future, this will happen regardless if I do it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I might as well be the catalyst and, ride the pony into the town, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. I like that. If you had like, I don't know, 5 to 10 things and you had a couple minutes to just like make a major impact on the life of a musician, what would you, where would you start? Where would you start to point these people? Or are there specific like, hey, go to this website, look this up, watch this YouTube video? Like, what are your big, if you've got a couple minutes, what are your big things where you're pointing people?
One, it would be figure out why you're doing this, because if you don't know why you're doing this, you're going to quit. So take some time and really dig deep and figure that out. Number 2 would be time management and follow through. Create lists of what you need to do and do them. Block out time to do them. And that includes making content, which, would be my 3rd thing. No matter how you feel about it, it needs to be done. So you need to figure out how to make content that's sustainable and aligned with you. Like for me, I will never do a TikTok dance on TikTok, probably. And that's okay. I can still get views. So content, what's another one? Another one would be, it's a lot of overcoming your internal stuff. Like for artists. And that's why for me to just give tips and tools and stuff, it really, your mindset is the soil that everything else grows from. So research and enjoy other pieces of art, and experience life, because you can't make good art if you're not making experiences, right?
I think that's that curse that we see so often with musicians who make it big, right? Like they put out an album that's coming from a place of just raw, gritty, like this is what my life is. They make a massive impact. They're hugely successful. And then the next album or a couple albums down the line, it's like either just completely out of touch or it's all songs about like being on the road, right? Or like being on the stage. And you're kind of like, this became less relatable somehow. And because sometimes people get so caught up and they're like, okay, we're playing now 280 gigs this year. It's like, when did you have time to actually live a life where you were experiencing things outside of that were outside of that grind, right? And so, I think that's huge. I feel like the why is something that is oft overlooked. And maybe not for everyone, but like having a sort of mission statement. I want to drill in on that just a little bit. Like, what are some common whys that you see with artists who are able to sustain?
They want to impact and inspire people is a very common one that I've noticed is present in all the artists that don't stop. Myself included, right? And the way we kind of flip that with their content strategies is like, how many other ways can you impact and inspire? And then
it's not just through the music, you mean?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
So I think that's one. And then the people who say they just want to do it for the money, I literally tell them, like, do you know how many other investments you can make that will give you a return much faster?
Yeah, you could literally go on HSN and buy those quarters, like 50 state quarters, and get a better return on your investment.
Right, literally.
Yeah. With the time aspect of it, like the kind of time management aspect of it, I feel like that tends to be something that's quite difficult for a lot of creative people. Are there ways that you've found that kind of make that more accessible?
There's an app called Motion. And it's like an automatic calendar. It'll like...
It's like AI based, right?
Yeah, it will like Jenga, or it will like Tetris your calendar. I think that's cool. So basically you just prioritize stuff, and if something moves or changes, because we all know it does all the time. It will automatically put it somewhere else. So I think using tools like that is cool. And then also, like, if you listen to a bunch of gurus and you take all this information in, at the end of the day, you still have to know what works for you.
Yeah.
And so, like, try everything until it works. And when you find something that works, do it.
Yeah. It sounds so simple, and yet, like, it doesn't always happen. It's that iterative process, right? Where, like, you have to be totally willing to fuck things up over and over and over and over and over again until you get to a point where you're not. With the content creation side of thing, maybe similarly, like I think a lot of people struggle to feel that there's maybe value. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the idea of like wanting to create impact and help others, right? And inspire others. Are there ways that you've seen people succeed at that like maybe previously they had the idea, it wasn't clicking for some reason, but something they did all of a sudden was like, oh, now we're doing it. Now we're cooking with gas.
Right. Again, like, I hate to sound like a broken record, but like it always goes back to their mindset. So for example, had one artist, he had posted his post before and it didn't perform well. We just tweaked some things and posted the exact same post, but I had then kind of switched how he was thinking, and he had the most engagement on that post than he's had in his whole feed because it was part of a larger strategy. And also he was excited to do that. Like we're in an energy exchange at all times. So even myself, if I'm like, I don't want to make this reel today, but I'm going to do it, it will underperform than if I'm like having fun and shooting it.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Going into it with the mind, because, you know, for as easy as it is to just like blow through stuff and consume on Instagram, like there are moments where you see someone and you clock in that deep part of your intuition and pattern recognition. You clock like, oh, that person's doing something interesting. That person's having fun. There's something here for me. And like that difference of like the super polished, like today we're doing versus like, oh my God, this just happened. Like there's such a difference in that like it truly, I think, profoundly impacts us and causes us to want to stop and watch and be like, wait, what?
Right.
So that's cool. I think, having that mindset shift of like, I want to do this. I want to be here.
Right.
Because if you don't, people are going to see that and they're not going to want to be there if you don't want to be there.
Right. And like for me, there is something that I do that maybe this will help some viewers. I have to literally, we can curse, right? I have to literally
absolutely
mind fuck myself, right? Yeah. So I take my impact or my mission statement, what I want to do, impact and inspire. And then the thing that I maybe don't want to do at the moment, make reels. And I'm like, don't be a little bitch. You said you want to impact and inspire people. And if you're not going to make this reel, how many people are not going to know this? Yeah. And that's just works for me. My self-talk is a little aggressive, but it does
aggro
work.
Self-talk. Yeah. I love it. I like a little aggro self-love from, time to time.
Right.
That's cool. Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. Where do you think, on the whole, like, where do you think musicians are fucking up just in general the most?
Doing the quick thing instead of the long, boring, unsexy thing. It's easy to do the flashy thing like this. There's a contest out right now. I see a lot of people doing it. And it's like, maybe you spent 10 hours entering that contest and talking to people, trying to get them to vote for you. Why aren't you putting that same effort into your own release and your own research?
Yeah.
Because you think someone's going to come save you. They're not.
Yeah. Or your own contest.
Right.
Start your own contest and guarantee that you win in some way. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Let's do the hard, long thing. Good advice all around. What's something that you think musicians are doing right oftentimes?
Experimenting with different content formats, being super creative, and I think most social media, because I've worked with coaches and consultants and businesses as well. In that realm, it's find something that works and copy it. And for artists, the ones who get weird are winning.
Yeah. Find something that hasn't worked for anyone and do that. Like, find something that no one's done.
Right.
See if that works. Yeah, cool. So that experimentation is huge. And I think that's nice to hear for a lot of creatives. I know some creatives are strictly logical. It blows my mind, but they do their thing and they're so good at it. But for most of us, I feel like there is this yen to experiment and get weird anyway. So to like hear that that's actually kind of one of the things that can lead to the most sustainability is nice to hear.
Yes.
Are there metrics that actually matter? Are there metrics that people should be looking at?
Obviously engagement rates, you want to pay attention to your engagement rates. You want to viewer retention. So especially on YouTube, you can see where people drop off on the video.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to go back and edit previous content, put a little bit of different twist on it and try it again, because sometimes it just needs, to be shortened 2 seconds and it makes a huge impact. So viewer retention, engagement rate, and then just anything overall that indicates growth.
Yeah. At that moment where people are dropping off, you just all of a sudden put a giant question and then you're like, oh my God, what will happen?
Right.
Yeah. We're dumb animals, all of us.
Oh,
I like to think that we're all super, super clever and like, oh, none of these tricks work on me though. But like, you see something flash, right? You see all of a sudden some like muscle bound dude who walks by in the background. You're like, oh, maybe I will watch a little longer.
Right.
Okay, cool. As far as like clients that you're working with, is there an ideal type? I know we kind of touched on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there an ideal type of person? And then on the flip side of that, is there someone that you just straight up won't work with, aside from people who are just like, I'm trying to get rich?
Yeah. So ideal client, I won't say genre specific. I'm pretty open to genres.
Yeah.
They're communicative.
Genre fluid.
They're willing to try things, and like I said, they kind of already have something going on. Like they've shown that they can keep things moving by themselves.
Cool.
So that's one. And then the people I won't work with are people who cannot take any accountability. I had that a lot early on doing this, working with primarily no shade rappers. And I'm just like, if you cannot communicate and you won't take any accountability for at least part of what you got going on, I'm good.
Yeah, we're done here.
Right. We don't
nothing
even
I
need to
can
get on
do.
a discovery call. Like, I saw your form responses.
Yeah. I can take your money and then do nothing for you, but I don't want to do that.
Right.
Yeah. And is there anything in particular that sort of separates the winners from the losers in this game? Or is it just that, like, continuing to just hold on, do the thing, experiment?
Right. It's perseverance. It's also like surrounding yourself with the right people. I've seen people who are surrounded by yes men, and I've seen people who have a little bit more friction in their team, but their team truly has their best interests at heart.
Nice.
So whether that's 2 people or 6 people, that is definitely a defining factor, because the yes man group will always hit a ceiling and they won't even know they're at a ceiling because no one will tell them.
Yep. That's huge. That's huge. So let's jump into, this would be the part normally where I'd talk about a specific song, but I think that like your creative project right now that's got the most steam behind it for you is Grow with Soph, right?
Yeah.
There's a million courses, there's a million YouTube videos out of there like on the internet, and like I want to know who's the ideal musician who can take your course that's going to get the most out of it, as opposed to just going and trying to cobble something together by themselves.
Right. So in Grow with Soph, like we have the courses, but there's also like a social media aspect to it where you can make posts and people comment on them. And then we do go live like once every other week right now. So you get to have a partner that is helping you discern things. For example, one guy, he took the little Spotify part. He did it. He came to a live, asked a question. I gave him the resource. And now he's up to like 2,500 streams on the second week.
Nice.
Where his last releases got like 50. So artists that don't want to be just thrown to the wolves by themselves, someone that wants to have that extra insight from me actually once a week.
And also maybe accountability, right? Like just the idea that you've got other eyes on it directly.
Right. And even we talked about this with my client with the Discord a little bit, but in Grow with Soph, people are interacting themselves without me in there all day. So I have one guy, he's giving away some free plugins. I have another guy, he's giving away some discount codes to other VSTs. So it's just, I'm trying to cultivate the safest corner, because I will kick out people that are whack.
That's
and I'm
good.
open with that. I'm like, if you do lame shit, you're getting out of here.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I think it is something that like it feels good to hear as a musician, right? That there's plenty of people out there that are just like, I'll step on anyone to get to the top.
Right.
And most of them don't. Most of them never get to the top anyway. So it's kind
Right.
of like, oh, you're just an unsuccessful dick. Cool.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then there's some people who won't even take a step and want to get to the top. And they're maybe nicer people to be around, but not particularly inspiring.
Right.
And then there's people who want to walk alongside other people and get to the top. And if they make it a step ahead, reach back and pull someone up to get to their level.
Right.
And then put a hand out when they need it and be pulled up to the next level. And I think that like, for me, and I think you said it was on School, right? Which is one of the like online, it's like Facebook that doesn't suck, but for your own stuff,
yeah,
right?
Basically.
Yeah. I think that it's nice to have a sense of like being on this ride that sometimes is really bumpy and sometimes quite scary with other people who are willing to kind of like go, hey, this is even if they're just saying, yo, this is my struggle, I share that struggle with you. It can be a huge relief to be like, oh, I'm not alone. Like this isn't just something that I'm like having to go through by myself. There's these other people around me.
Right. I think
That's huge.
Yeah, it is. I think I didn't learn the value of sharing I guess struggles until more recently in life, because I usually go through things my whole life. I've done things pretty much alone, or even in a group. I was still like, I'm responsible for me.
Yep.
So like I'm the oldest kid, the oldest grandkid. So I just was always the first one doing stuff. So, but then I realized that when you do have a problem and it's just you and the problem looks way bigger.
Oh yeah.
Than if 3 other people are like, yeah, I did that and it totally sucked, but now I'm past it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that about my community, and especially with artists not always getting support from their family, it creates this alternate community where it's like, hey, yeah, my family doesn't support me either, but we got each other.
Yeah, that's huge. And it's interesting. Are you working with a lot of people who are sort of like on, maybe not on the fringes, but like obviously having spoken with a lot of queer artists and a lot of gay artists, a lot of, people that are in minority groups or what have you, like there is a sense of the struggle is even at home. The struggle starts before they ever become a musician. The struggle starts with their very identity. Like, do you find that because of your identity, like that those types of people gravitate towards you, or that you're more willing to kind of be like, oh, I want to work with this person because XYZ?
I would say I for sure probably, if I like did some data mining, would find I have a lot of black sheep in my communities, because I feel like my willingness to be absurd validates something in them that's like, oh, me too. So I would say, yeah. I have no data to back that, but I would say, yeah.
Sure. And I love that says so much about you as, I think, as a person too. Is like, I'm going to qualify this with the lack of data. Like, I don't have the data. It's like, okay, yeah, we get it. So let's jump for a second before we get straight into the gay, ironically. Let's just talk about the dot part of the Music.gay, which is you're pretty vocal about a lot of things. And I think one of the things that drew me to you initially was the no bullshit approach to topics that have a lot of bullshit, like even systemic bullshit built into them.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things that you had said when I like asked you the pre-interview questions was like, you're not super stoked on like microplastics right now and the toxicity of food in the States, which is also probably filled literally to the gills with microplastics.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, like, is it a diet thing? Like, what is it that has you so concerned specifically about that? Or is it just kind of how that's a symptom of this bigger, hey, everything's a little fucked right now? Or what is it?
I think it's, traveling overseas and eating and then coming back here and eating. You're like, hold on. Like, what is going on here? And
Where are you, by the way?
I'm in DC right now.
Okay.
But I just got back from Spain like 4 days ago, and So I went to Iceland last year and then Spain, and I was just like, damn, man, like the food is drugs here in
Yeah.
America. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't have very strong self-control. So when you put things in front of people that have addictive properties
Yeah,
that is
totally.
supposed to be nutritious, I just don't like it. Like, it's not ethical. And then, of course, I see memes and like data reports about microplastics, and like I saw one about Chipotle burritos and the amount of aluminum nanoparticles or whatever in it, and I was like, damn, like what can I eat?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just, I just don't like it, and it's linked to a lot of medical issues,
Yeah,
and
totally.
I just think the world can be a better place if
Yep.
people just take smaller profit margins and
Mhm.
like communicate more authentically, and that is included in microplastics and food nutritional value.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. I know it's like a little bit of a departure, but it's also so important for anyone who's trying to do anything that's like at a big level has to be fueled in order to
Yeah.
do that. And I think that like it's not just that it sucks, and I'm a little blessed in some ways. Like I live out in the Bay Area, and there's actually so much great food, and I have
Yeah.
friends who are farmers.
Nice.
Shout out Little Wing. Hi, Molly. And so like I get a lot of really good food, but then I travel some places within the States where that's not an option. I go back to my hometown in St. Louis, and like, oh my God, specifically we had for my sister's birthday, we all met up in St. Louis, and they decided to get sushi. And I was like,
Nice.
no, can't we do literally anything else?
Right.
They're like, no, it's really good though. I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And we went, I got so sick, like literally just got sick. I was like, this is just not good. This is not fit for human consumption.
Right.
And so like to be a little blessed and a little biased towards like, yeah, I know what good food is. And especially like you said, traveling abroad, some places are just, it's so amazing. You're like, oh, this has never been
Right.
frozen. Like that guy right there picked this, and then he
Right.
cooked it, and now
And he
here
got
it is,
paid
and
a
I'm eating
living
it.
wage while
Yeah,
he did it.
totally. Yeah. So I'm with you there. I think that's an important one to sort of keep in mind for everyone.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some people just straight up don't have access to it.
Yeah,
I'm in
dude.
Oakland, where I go this way, and I've got like farmers markets and Whole Foods in the, let's say, more gentrified area of Oakland. I go this way in the more kind of Western and, a lot more poverty in this area. And it's a food desert. Like there's nothing. So it's just crazy that even just the access and how systemically fucked it can be, that we're like, oh, here's the people that we can give shitty food to, and now here's the people who deserve the good food. It's like, oh.
Right. That's kind of my overall, like, my joke is like, everything's fucked. We haven't tried a monarchy yet. I'm down to run. Like, like I don't think I can fuck it up any worse. But yeah, I think it's like a pint. I really like fruit. And even now I'm seeing like the pesticides in the fruit. And I'm like, oh my God, should I just eat McDonald's? But that's even worse. So like what you were saying, a pint of raspberries is like $7-8.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have the money, I'm going to Wendy's and getting a 4 for $4.
Yep.
And maybe 2 of them, if depending on the sales tax.
Yeah, you can feed several people.
Exactly.
At least the caloric intake that they need, right? So it is kind of, damn, we're not going to fix it on this podcast, so let's move on. It is like, it's hard because those types of things you just sit and think about, and you can get completely lost in just how it all is. But something that's not all that is being gay. What a terrible segue, brought to you by Music.gay. So you told me that you are just a humaning, which I love. A personing, like an appling. Shout out Alan Watts. But at the moment, you are identifying as she, her.
Yes.
And you're in a long relationship with a woman, which I don't know if anyone's told you this, but that's pretty gay, bro. It's pretty gay.
It's gay. Yeah.
It's pretty gay.
It's pretty gay.
How has this kind of situation kind of affected your life? Like, have you always been leaning a certain way, or is it changing with the times, or what's up?
I think I grew up and I liked girls,
Sick.
but I didn't
Nice.
know that I liked girls.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd be like, damn, do you want to use my mechanical pencil? Like, or like, I got some gum, like that type of thing. But then I dated men, but I did notice, like, with my friends, in contrast, they would always get super pressed on the dudes. And I'd be like, I mean, they're cool or whatever, but like, okay, what's up with this pressed vibes?
Yeah.
And then, I dated guys for a while, and then I had some flings with girls or whatever, and then I met the girl I'm with now, and that's when I told my parents, because I was like, I like this girl for real, so y'all gotta know. And it wasn't the best response, but I think maybe, like, I wore the cargo shorts with the zip-offs from the boy section. I don't know why anybody was surprised.
Yeah. Were they surprised, or were they just kind of like, we kind of knew, but this confirms
I don't know.
our suspicion.
Like, my mom did the whole, sorry, Mom, but this is true. She did the whole movie thing of like, no. And I just sat across the table like, you're so theatrical. Like, I
so
love
extra
you.
right now.
Right. So I don't know. It definitely shaped me, but I think it made me more. I know that I did take on more masculine role when I started going to studios by myself. Even in the way that I dressed. So like, I dressed kind of girly, like, for a portion of my life, but as a kid I was a tomboy. Then I went a little bit girly. Then I was going to like studios in not the best areas, and I noticed I would cover up more and stuff like that. So
as a protective measure, as a sort of like
I think
signaling.
so, like subconsciously.
Is it important for you at this point to be fairly vocal about that, or it's kind of just like, whatever? Yeah, maybe you can assume by how I'm dressed, like, who I'm fucking, but
right. I think because of my relationship status, I don't even think about it, because I'm like, I'm not going to try to bang you, and if you ask, I'll tell you, but I'm not, I think part of it too is that, so we have a daughter, and she went to private school. We're in a conservative area. So I think that I kind of put it on the back burner because I didn't want her to get ostracized by these types of people. But now that she's going to public school, we're open with it. We kiss in public. We're just like regular people that are just gay, like,
yeah. It's like regular people, but like a little better. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we actually like communicate and like.
Yeah. Is that, as far as like with your work, is it something that it comes up at all? Because I mean, like you were saying, the absurd, right? It attracts a certain type of people. Like,
oh yeah.
Do you feel that the gay attracts a certain type of people?
I mean, I think I have a certain level of Rizz that already exists, and it definitely, I don't know if it's because I'm gay, but it definitely has happened. I think I get a lot of straight girls that are like, hey, like, I'm curious. And I'm like, hey, I'm not single. So I don't know. Maybe. I'm really just in a bubble, Frankie. I'm just like frolicking through life, and like, I'm like, ha 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 ha. And then whatever comes to me, even great things, like, my girl, I had said something great happened. I forgot what it was. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening to me. This is amazing. And she's like, you've been working every day, all day for 10 years. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
You're right. So
yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm so lucky. It's like, okay, are you, or just working?
I haven't seen you all week, but.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
What do you hope? I mean, in that vein, I mean, like, given that it's nice to, in a way, actually see someone who's like, yeah, whatever, I don't know. I'm gay, and it doesn't make maybe that much difference in my life. Right. And I think that that's indicative to some degree of like where we've come as a society, and also to some degree where we are individually right now. Like, you're in DC. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Yeah. There's a lot of gay people out there. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on in the Bay Area too. Pride just ended, a couple of days ago. Well, Pride didn't end, but corporate Pride ended a couple of days ago. And so it's like, kind of recognizing that there's reasons why certain areas have more ability for you to share that, and some still don't. I mean, some whole regions of the world, like, you can be killed for being out, right? And so I'm wondering for you, like, do you have hopes or aspirations for what the future might look like for young queer people? And are there things that like you feel responsible for personally to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing? Or is it just like, just live your life, have a good life, and then help other people? And if they're gay, great.
For me, life is very in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if like you say my obligation, do I have an obligation or a duty? It would be in the moment. If I see someone getting mistreated, yes, I have an obligation in that moment to be an ally to them and tell the shitty person to shut up.
Cool.
As a whole, as a culture, I feel like regionally, some of that stuff, especially like in the Bible Belt, it may not change for quite some time. But I think as people have children and those people have children, it's going to water down anyways. Because, you know, back in the day, maybe people knew one gay person or one queer person. And now it's like, I got 2 gay cousins and a guy at work, and you know, this
everyone on TV right now is gay.
Right, everyone on TV. So, I do think there's an obligation for the younger people, like I'm talking like elementary school children, to not lean them one way or another.
Yeah.
Like create space to allow people to sprout and blossom and understand who they are before pushing any type of belief system on them.
Totally. So you don't think we should like post up the 10 Commandments in children's schoolrooms or anything?
Right. No, I don't think. I think.
Or like how to be gay.
Right. Or like the drag queens in the 2nd grade, like pole dancing thing. Like, no, I don't think that's cool. And I think that overall it does the gay community more of a disservice.
Interesting.
Because you have to think, like, I have conservative parents and a gay brother. So me and my brother talk about, you know, things that are misrepresentations of us. And I think just because of our family unit, both of us lean more towards being normal as possible. Not saying gay people aren't normal, but you know what I'm saying? Like theatrical,
being as heteronormative,
media gay, and regular gay in regular life isn't always the same thing. So I don't have all the answers, man.
Yeah.
That's my stance. I don't know.
I like that though. I think it's interesting to say, like, in the moment, it's important to step up if you see someone getting mistreated, but it's not everyone's role to be the biggest advocate. And I think that's 100% true. Like if your attention and your interest is geared towards doing something at a high level, which is helping musicians achieve their goals, by happenstance, you may work with some gay musicians and put them in a much bigger spotlight. And because of that, you've done something that's like massively helpful to advocacy, right? But it wasn't it wasn't something that you needed to directly be doing. And I think that's important because I think some people can feel really like bad on themselves or put upon by like, am I doing enough to like help my people? And it's like, sometimes doing the best that you can do for yourself is doing enough, right? It's if you can put yourself in a place where you feel most aligned with who you are inherently, and you also happen to be in a community that is a marginalized community, then you're kicking ass. Like, don't feel like you need to go out and start a gay brunch somewhere, you know, like it's fine. So cool. I dig that. Personally, for you, what are like some of your big aspirations and your biggest dreams for your life?
I'm really intuitive and like led with intuition. So this changes, right? Because it used to be like a great music artist and perform for hundreds of thousands of people. I think now it's creating a safe space for artists. And also I want to essentially, if I tell you my biggest dreams, I want to overhaul the whole system of the music industry because I think it's trash. And I think that the corporate system of music is wrong, even in their hiring processes. For example, they're making marketing managers do like 12 people's jobs. It's not sustainable. So like if I told you my biggest dream would be for me to say, I created this system of a creative industry capsule that I believe is the best operational structure for creatives because we are not the same as like the finance industry. We can't
Mm-hmm.
show up 9 to 5 and do it every single day,
Yeah.
all the time. So to overhaul the music industry would be one of my biggest things. And to, be a speaker and then consultant as a
Yeah.
byproduct.
Nice. Love that. What's a dream for your life that you feel like you've already achieved?
What have I already achieved? So I always feel like I've never done enough, or that I've done nothing at all. So I think I'm proud of the family unit I've cultivated with my girl and the kid and the 2 dogs, and overcoming pessimism. I grew up very pessimistic. Complaining was the main thing, and I've shifted my mindset and how I show up in the world. So that is something that I'll say is a success for me.
Nice. Love that. What is in your mind, what is this ideal world, right? For an artist, like what is the ideal landscape where? Well,
it starts with the corporate. So in a nutshell, this is going to be really hard to jam in a nutshell. The stakeholders would get good returns. The creatives would be giving work environments that are sustainable to them, right? And the consumer base would be educated in what they're buying. And then the future workers of that system would be trained appropriately to fit the system. Because right now, because there's no status quo, we have all these different type of people with all these different type of backgrounds, and there's no standards. So if you ask me for a budget, like this happened earlier today, I'm working with this music manager, and she's like, hey, you sent me this doc. What am I looking at? And I was like, well, this is what I send people all the time, and it's fine. But she's like, I use Excel spreadsheets, and it needs to be laid out like this. And I was like, well, let me know and I'll give you the format you need. But I think it would be nice if the overall industry had a standard operating procedure of this is a video treatment. This is what it looks like. And then the creative can just plug in the creative parts. But I think that's part of it too.
Cool. So like a whole ecosystem overhaul.
Yeah, dude, I did a whole mind map and I sent it to this investment group, and they're in music, and they're probably like, this bitch is fucking nuts. Because I'm like, this will make us 22 billion. This. And they're probably just like, but I redacted a lot of it because I was like, you're not stealing my idea.
Yeah.
But also now I just tell everyone I can because I realize I can't do it by myself.
Yeah, I'm picturing Charlie Day and Always Sunny in Philadelphia with all the shit posted up on the wall.
That's me.
Red strings. Yeah, love it. Here for it. Okay, let's jump in. We're coming towards the end here. I want to do a lightning round with you.
Okay.
So I'm just going to ask questions, bang, bang, bang. You can give me a one-word answer. You can give me like, couple things, couple thoughts. You ready?
Yes.
Sick. Where do you go when you die?
The ether.
Love it. Love the ether. It's a great place to be. Is there a God?
Each person has their own
Isn't that the truth? the cause for all wars everywhere all the time.
Yes.
Can anyone be a musician?
If they acquire the technical ability.
Okay. Yeah, I like that answer. Do you believe anyone is 100% straight?
Very few people.
But a few.
Very few.
Okay. All right. What's your favorite song?
Right now?
Right now.
Supernatural by Ariana Grande.
Love it. Cool. Love it. Great. What's your favorite book?
Ooh. I'm going to say my favorite book is Florence Novel Shin. I don't know which book it is. She has a compilation book. I'll just say Outwitting the Devil.
Cool. What's your favorite color?
Purple.
Yeah, I was going to guess that. What's your favorite flavor?
Chocolate.
So good. Do you have a word of the year?
Word of the year? Communication.
Cool. Yeah, important. Fuck, marry, kill. But you got to pick them.
Okay.
Like, you have to pick them. You have to pick the 3 people.
Fuck, marry, kill.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. Margot Robbie from Wolf of Wall Street.
Yo, hello. All right.
Marry. Who do I want to marry? My current partner.
Love that. And, safe out.
Yeah. And kill. Kill? Who do I want to kill? I don't know. I'm a peace person. I will say I will kill whoever's warming all the fucking oceans.
Yeah. Okay. So all the people on Earth. Got it. No. Mostly corporations, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So this is going to be a slightly asynchronous part.
Okay.
Where I'm going to tell you this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll keep it synchronous. I don't know. I want you to hear this song. It's not all fully formed yet, but these are the lines that have been written so far.
Okay.
And it's by all the previous guests of the podcast.
Okay.
So I'll send it to you as well.
Okay.
Let me message it to you, and I think there's a little little boxy thing. What looks like that looks like a box.
Oh, I see.
Boop. Okay. So God is an echo of your thoughts. God is the ocean and the blue raindrops. Come with me, the sky is getting dark. Tomorrow never is too far. Idols are poisoning your thoughts. Real's what you make it, and it's been here all along. There's no extra credit for suffering, so live it up. This life is your only one. Take my hand, peel the polish off my nails.
And then I have to write one?
Well, no. Typically, yes, but I want to put you on the spot here. We didn't talk about this beforehand.
Okay.
But given that this will be, by the end of it, like an entire song,
nice,
written line at a time by 20, 30 artists, however many it ends up being in the season, what would you do with this song? How would you promote it? How would you get it in front of people? How would you approach it? How would you even record it? Like, are we doing a We Are the World type of thing?
Right.
Is this like, oh, let's try to get all these people together? Like, how would you see this going down?
Idealistically, I would first pick the producer, I guess, and then, get a budget to make this happen.
Mm-hmm. Who's your dream producer for it?
Huh?
Who's your dream producer for it?
I don't know.
It's like 30 queer artists. Do you have one producer, and it's kind of probably going to be rockish?
No, I don't have a lot of. Okay. I work with mostly artists, and then I just learn producers through them. So I don't like fangirl any specific producer. But,
got it. Find a producer, step one.
Okay, get a producer. I would bring them all together if possible.
Yeah.
I would shoot content. I would get basically enough content to roll this out over 60 days. I would make sure that the posts were working in tandem on each respective social media. Mm-hmm. We would create an engagement group for everyone to engage with each other's posts. I would give them all the proper splits. And then I would activate all of their respective audiences to actually purchase the record outright once it releases, in the hopes of getting it to chart on iTunes and Luminate at the very least. And then I would take that success and I would pitch it to as many gay media outlets as possible and just kind of ride that wave.
Sick. Crash course. Love that. This is a free session for me at this point.
Right.
Cool. That's great. That's super cool.
That's just off the top.
Yeah, that's good though. I mean, that's like, yeah, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. I like that. I'd be like, oh, I'd get on a stage and maybe try to sing it with some people.
I'd busk. Around America.
I'd get 30 gay musicians from all around the world to get together and busk.
We'd all do a YMCA cover and not buy the license for the cover. And then once we get the cease and desist, then pitch this to the rights holders.
100%, which did famously happen with the Village People. Sadly, it was a whole thing, whole story. Yeah. Oh, look into it. Look into the history of the Village People.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you clocked a good one there.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. If this podcast had a slogan, what would it be?
if this podcast had a slogan, this would be, don't be a bitch. Just do what you can.
I love it. Hey, don't be a bitch. Just do what you can. Cool. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, I really enjoyed this. I think I do want to say one thing to the listeners, viewers, whatever. You know yourself more than anybody else on earth, and you need to cultivate trust in yourself. So however you can do that, do that.
Don't be a bitch. Just do what you can.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's huge. I love that. So here we are again then. We started at the beginning. We went on till we came to the end. And now it's time to stop. So there's so much more that I would want to know. And I might just have to work with you, Big Soph, to learn more about how this crazy business really works. I can't exactly say what it's like to do this at this level that you're doing it. But I think of the conversations that we had today and the stuff we've talked about in the past, and the stuff I've seen on Instagram as any indication, and on your website and everything, I can only imagine that it's a blast, honestly, the whole way through. So if you want to know more, dear listener, reach out to Big Soph. Get in the DMs is probably the best place to do it at I am Big Soph, SOPH. And check out Grow with Soph. Find a link over to that on Instagram as well. And as always, if you don't already, be sure to follow us at Music.gay, all spelled out, at MUSICDOTGAY on Instagram, on all the socials, on TikTok, on everything. Also, you can find us on YouTube if you want to watch the video and you're listening now. And it's the same thing. It's just, how do they do it now? YouTube.com/@music.gay. Tune in a couple weeks from now, and we're going to have another great guest on. Thank you so much. Much love to all of you listeners. Much love to you, Big Soph. Appreciate you so much for being on. Everyone, just keep being as gay as you possibly can. Don't be a bitch. Do what you can. Cheers, queers. See you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.